welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real with Kent. We are doing it from the home today because we are right in the middle of Snowmageddon 2.0. So we're going to talk this week about some more statistics for the county. We talked about Midlothian and Waxahachie last week. We're going to talk about Ennis, Ferris and Italy today. So let's get right to it. So first, let's go to our stats. So this is the average sales price. So let's look and see what the average sales price was in Ellis County. It was $377,900, which is pretty good. We go and compare that to Ennis. It was down to $250 from the total county, but up for the year for Ennis. So that's always a good thing. Anytime the values of the properties are growing, that's always a great thing, and they are definitely growing in Ennis, Texas. So we're very excited about that. Same thing with Ferris. Ferris is way up on their numbers, so that's another great thing. Property values are increasing. That's good for the county. That's good for the homeowner. That's good for your pocketbook. It's good for everything that's going on. And then we'll look into Italy, and Italy is way up at $295. And there's some reasons for that. We'll show you that as we move through the rest of these statistics. But guys, keep in mind, I know I get it all the time. I get people send me, first November, they get their tax bill, they send it over, and they say, "Can I fight?" And unfortunately, here's the reality of it. I always tell them one thing, and it's the same thing every time. I say, guys, there's some good news and there's some bad news. And the good news is your property value is going through the roof. The bad news is you're going to have to pay taxes on it. So we can do some fighting, we can do some adjustment as we go forward. So don't misunderstand me. It's not that we can't, but it is going to go up. I mean, that's just it. Everybody knows the value of property in Ellis County is climbing. So the value of property climbs. Taxes are based upon a percentage of the value of your property. So that's just the way it works. And so keep that in mind. So it's a good thing, but with any good thing, there's always some things that we wish didn't work the way they do. So let's keep that in mind as we move on. All right, so now let's look at our original list price. So let's go back one real quick and say $377 for the county, and now $375. So that means that we're selling a little above the list price, right? Okay, so that's good. So let's go back and look again and look at Ennis. So we can see that Ennis was $250 and their original list price was $281. So they're down a little bit. So what does that mean to us? That's not a scary indicator, but what it does mean is that maybe things weren't being priced quite properly there. And what happens there, that's when you really need to make sure that you got a real estate professional involved with you and somebody that understands your market and is working your market, because it's critical that you get those things priced properly, right? One, just for the sellers, they're emotional. This is an emotional thing, selling a home. I mean, it can be one of the most emotional things they ever do. So if that's the case, then we need to make sure that we price it properly and don't have everybody just all tense all the time. And, if that's not the price that you want for the property, then maybe today's not the right time to sell. If you're sitting with it, the value of property in Ellis County is increasing every month. So, maybe just wait a little longer. That's, I know the real estate agents don't want to hear me say that, but that's just the reality of it. So let's make sure we get those properties priced properly. I mean, you got to remember, there's a way this works, right? Is most buyers don't have an extra $280,000 laying around, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to either sell the home they have, or for first-time home buyers, they're going to save some money. At that point in time, they're going to go to a mortgage lender, and that mortgage lender is going to say, "Hey, look, here's how much money you have to have. Here's the type of loan I can do for it, and here's what we'll go out and have it appraised, and whatever the appraised value is what the bank will cover." All right. So remember, even if the bank says, you come in and you're priced high and you're $20,000 over, you got to remember, most of these buyers don't have $20,000 over the closing costs. There's closing costs, and you want $20,000 more than the property's value is at. I mean, we got to work this thing realistically. So you go back and you look at that $250 in Ennis versus the list price. That's a little indicator to me that somebody is out there overpricing things as they go through the market. Now, when we go into Ferris, we got a whole different deal. In Ferris, we got $336,900, right? So that's their original list price, and they got $317. So they're not quite as bad as it was there in Ennis, but the same thing's kind of happening in Ferris. So keep that in mind. That the sales price was $317. and the list price, the original list price was $336. So there's some things happening that you need to pay close attention to and say, look, let's get these things priced properly so that they sell. Right? And that they don't drive, and we'll see it when we look at days on the market. That's going to be part of it. I'm going to promise you that. And then we go to Italy, whose their original list price was 210, and their average sales price. Oh, wrong way. Sorry. Their average sales price was 295. So they went the right direction, right? So they were pricing a little low and getting a little bit more for their properties. All right. So that's a good indicator that you're pricing properties at least somewhere close. Now 295 is quite a big jump from 210, but still. That tells me that at least they weren't overpricing their properties, right? And that's in a market like we have today, where everybody believes that people are coming in, and the big myth is that every buyer that buys a house in Ellis County is from California, and that's just not true, guys. I mean, there are some, but it's not some California buyer that sold a multi-million-dollar house that's going to come buy your 1,200 square foot house in downtown Ennis. Okay, come on. So let's keep that in mind. That's why we call this show "Keeping It Real," is because we want to keep it real, and this is real. All right. So now this is average price per square foot. So the county is at 173. So what you want to know is, and the reason you want this statistic is that if you're making the decision to purchase your house or sell a house, either one, you want to kind of know what it should be worth, right? So instead of having to run around and do all that work and try to figure it all out, let's say you got an average sales price of 173. Let's use the county, all right? And you got a 3,000 square foot house, all right? So if you do the math on that, that's going to come up and say that 3,000 square foot houses should be worth somewhere around 520,000, somewhere right in there. Okay, so that's a pretty good indicator that that's what that house should be worth. So if you go look at the house and it's listed at 650,000, you're going, well, wait a minute, why is it so high? It could be. I mean, they could have amenities in it. They could have swimming pools. They could have outbuildings. They could have all kinds of things that they have done to. They could total upgrade. Gourmet kitchens. There's all kinds of things that can increase the value. But you want to know why it's that much higher than the average price of a home in Ellis County, right? So same thing on the other side of it. If you go and look at it and it's like 400,000, I'm like, what's wrong with it? So somebody tell me why, the average sales price is 520 and you got it listed for 400. There's a reason for that, right? So that's just price per square foot is just a good little indicator for you to be able to do quick math and kind of just have an idea of whether what you're looking at is even close to being in line to where it should be. So now your realtor will come in and do a competitive market analysis for it and make sure that it's close to where it's supposed to be. And once you pull the comps in the area that make it, that gives us a whole lot better indicator, not the whole county, but something maybe just that neighborhood. So that can change it a bunch. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure that's another reason you need a realtor, to make sure that you get those prices in line to where they should be, from not only from the buying standpoint, but also from the selling standpoint. All right, so let's move forward. Now, here's another one, days on market. So the county's average days on market was 13. All right, so that's pretty fast, right? I can remember when I got started, 18 months was good. Now we're talking about 13 days, all right? Now you can go in and you look at Ennis, and we can go back to that original list price and go, oh, so those stayed on the market quite a bit longer than the average in the county. And why is that? Because we were priced a little high, all right? Now in Ferris, they weren't quite as bad. They were closer, so their inventory was flying out pretty fast. But that means they were negotiating prices pretty quick over there. So that's pretty much a indication that there's some pretty good real estate agents working that market. And then you got Ferris, which was on 13 days, which was average with the county. So that's not very many days on the market, guys. That means you took it 4 days on the market. That's a lot of people coming through your house in a very short period of time to get the offers that you need to make to get that thing sold. So it's a little crazy, but it is happening, and the statistics don't lie. All right. So now let's look at what was the price over our original asking price, okay, our original list price. So in Ellis County, we're getting about 100% of, if you listed it and you listed it properly, you got what you listed it for. There was not any dramatic drop in prices on anything that we did. Same thing in Ennis and in Ferris, you even got a little bit more. Italy's down a little bit, and I'll show you why that is. And Italy's a little bit more rural even than Ennis and Ferris, and that means you probably got some properties that sold through there that have some acreage with them. And when you sell a property with acreage, that can kind of, it's a little more difficult to find comps and things for. So over that period of that year, I would say that that was the cases. There were some acreages involved in there, and the price dropped just a little bit because the acreage that was there. Right. So that's kind of how that works. It's a pretty simple thing, but you just got to kind of understand it. And it's a little more difficult, and it's more difficult on the appraiser and everybody to find the comp, a property that has very good comparison to the properties that we're selling, especially when they have acreage, and then the amenities that come with acreage, like, did it have a barbed wire fence or did it have a pipe fence? Did it have a concrete driveway or does it have a dirt driveway? Does it have, outbuildings and barns, or does it just, have an old shed? There's a lot of things that you got to compare there that make it, a little different in pricing than it does just a house in a neighborhood. All right, so now here's the kicker, guys, is months of supply of inventory. All right, so right now in the county, we only have 1 month's supply of inventory. All right, that is not very much. Right? I'm just telling you, that is not very much. All right, in Ennis, we got 1.3 months. In Ferris, we got 1.8, and in Italy, we got 1.2. All right, so what the real estate industry would like to see is we'd like to see 6 months, right? Because that means, buyers actually have some choices in the things they're doing. They're not all just settling. I know I'm going to tell you, when this market shifts, and it always does, right? When it shifts, you're going to have a bunch of people that are bought houses 3 to 5 years ago that didn't really want that house but settled, that are going to want to try to sell, and it's going to get crazy. So, so how do we adjust inventory? One of the things that'll happen is the Fed will come in and start raising the interest rate a little bit. So as they raise the interest rate, the buyers get a little bit more concerned about it, and so things start to slow down a little bit. So when they do, that means the houses are going to sit a little longer, which is going to increase the months of inventory. It's going to increase the days on the market. All those things. So you got to just keep that in mind when you're out there looking at these statistics and say, what does this mean to me? Right now, it means that if you want to sell your house, you're going to sell it fast, and you're probably going to get full price if you list it at the proper price. All right, so that's what those statistics mean to you. Now, we're going to take a little short break for one of our sponsors to step in and talk to us.
Kurth with the Better Together Realty Group. We are powered by EXP, and we are your local experts. We are right here in Ellis County. Our office is in Midlothian, and we are here to serve you with all of your real estate needs. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or maybe an empty nester or anywhere in between, we can help you with the purchase and the sale of any property. And we also help investors grow their portfolios as well as manage their properties for them. So we are truly full-service real estate right here in Ellis County. We would love to help serve you or anyone that you know reach their home goals. You can reach my whole team at 972-246-8297. You can call or text that number. You can always email us at team@bettertogetherrg.com, or you can stop by our office right here in Midlothian.
All right, so now let's talk about this. Let's talk about how many units actually closed, right? So we had 276 units closed in Ennis. That's a good number. That's quite a few. That's quite a few, because not all, here's the other thing you got to remember about these statistics, is not all of the builders put their data into the system so that realtors or anybody can even find out about that. So if there are some new builds out there, there's going to be a percentage of those that are not part of these statistics. So keep that in mind. So these are mostly, previously owned homes that have been sold in the market. Right? So in Ferris, we have the same thing. We've got 109 units out there, so that's pretty good. And here's where I was talking to you about that 36. That's why those numbers are a little skewed for Italy, because there just wasn't that many units sold. So when you're averaging, a 25-acre ranch versus a city lot, I mean, there's going to be a big comparison, big difference, and averages are going to move numbers kind of crazy on that. So that's kind of why that works that way. So, keep it in mind that it's a good time to get into the market. It's a good time to sell. You know me, I'm going to pound on it forever. I want you guys to find a professional out there to help you list and sell real estate. That's what they're there for. There's a ton of great agents in Ellis County. I watch them every day. I watch their statistics. I do business with them. I know just wonderful people. But you got to do your due diligence. You got to go out there and find people that know what they're doing, and you got to ask the right questions. And you need to ask them. How well do you know my market? There's lots of things. And then when they say, "Oh, I know it well," say, "Well, now it's time to prove it." So show me what you sold here. What do you know about it? And give me some statistics that prove that, right? And they will, because they're good. All right. So keep that in mind. And right before we cut out, we're going to have another little look at one of our sponsors. And
Hi, my name is Caitlin Bush with Mid-America Mortgage Southwest here in Midlothian. Whether you are purchasing a home or refinancing, we are here to help you every step of the way. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or you've done the purchasing process multiple times before, we treat our customers like family here at Mid-America Mortgage Southwest, and we will walk you through every step of the way to make this transaction as smooth as possible. You can reach me at 214-598-7839 or send an email to kbush@mamsw.com.
all right. And so just to finish up for the day, guys, it's a crazy day out there. Looks like the entire North Texas is shut down, but we're still working. That's a great thing that I think we've learned over the last couple of years, is how to keep working even though we can't get out of our own home. And so your agents are out there working hard for you today. They're still listing. There are not many of them showing houses today, but they're still listing them. They're still taking care of all the things they need to do to take care of your contracts and move them through and make sure that your transaction works out and is smooth. So keep that professional in mind as you move on, and I will see you next week.